Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Laura Johnson, coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado, and from Yellow Brick Physical Therapy. And here is episode 30, which is crazy, of SuperSoul Boulder, where we talk about everything mind, body, heart, health, and wellness, including integrative anatomy and topics that not only include the physical body, which I love. Hey, Alex. Hey, awesome work out there marathoning. Love it. For me, right? For me too. So where we want to talk about everything, not just physical, but how the physical meets the mental, meets the emotional, meets the even spiritual, which doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's as simple as the things your heart really wants to do, right? Whether it's marathon or whether that is anything, gosh, hiking in the mountains or swimming in the ocean or doing cartwheels on a beach or any of that stuff. So what do we want to be able to do, and what are the things that help us do that, right? Which tonight's topic is about contact. I just came out of a retreat this weekend with my lovely cohort of people doing this deeply amazing inner work. Hey, Kirsten, good to see you again. And the topic was about contact, and I'll say more about that in a little bit. But one thing I have been thinking about today is how, you're a person, right? You're a human, and the human body works generally more or less the same way for most people. So yes, there are some differences and discrepancies, but more or less, we humans in our human body operate very similarly. How do I know this? Because of working with hundreds of people's bodies, seeing how they respond. So most people respond similarly. Sometimes there are outliers, right? Not everyone responds the same way for different reasons. And so that is something we all share in common. Again, mostly similar, some differences. But one thing that I can't help but think of when I talk about that is when, as an athlete, especially, if I give myself even 5 to 10 years ago, as an athlete, I had more of an elitist mindset, bordering arrogance, or maybe arrogant, but I didn't want to admit it, or still don't really, but more like, hey, Dominic, more like my body is better, can heal faster, can do more, is capable of surpassing the usual human thing. Like this desire or even belief that it was a bit more superhuman. And what I had to learn over and over again, maybe the hard way, is that my body is still human and still works the same way as most other people's, especially when it comes to healing, especially when it comes to how do all the systems integrate together, especially in terms of how do we need to take time sometimes to allow something to heal, to reconfigure, to get better, and not just kind of power through, push through, try to make it faster. Faster is not always better. Hey, Ed. I like speed a lot. I like running fast, I really do, and I like doing things faster, but I really believe it is true that faster is not always better. In fact, it can be a detriment. In fact, my athletic mindset around I can be different or better or, be more superhuman actually was a detriment. It actually slowed down my process of getting better because I kept doing the same patterns, the same repeats, the wanting to keep going, to keep running, to keep powering through, to keep pushing through, to keep going to school, to keep doing these things. But there was consequence in that, right? So it doesn't mean don't do or do. It's like a balancing act, right? So if we're a little too far beyond ourselves, then we might need to come back so you're in where you are. You're in your correct place in time, which is actually right now, always. If our minds get a little too far ahead of ourselves or think maybe a little beyond what is real, then we can get ourselves into trouble. Is that making sense? I am now, but that actually segues really great into what I'm going to talk about next. So we're humans, right? In our human body. And good question for those of you out there who have a similar mindset like I had, which is I can heal faster, do more, be better, whatever that looks like for you, and think, what's wrong with being human? What's the problem with that? I definitely had this feeling like, I don't want to just be normal. I want to be extraordinary. I'm sure our culture here in this country doesn't support, it definitely supports being extraordinary, right? Being achieving and doing more and being better and succeeding. But, right, what's wrong with being human is amazing. There's so much to it. There's so much multifacetedness. And when you really look at that, it's a whole different thing. Yes, Kirsten says, always good to come up for air and check in. Absolutely, absolutely. So if we're all human and have this human body, we are also all people. So you're a person, just like I'm a person, and that's a little bit different, right? So there's a uniqueness, a certain personal quality to each of us that makes us respond differently to all a slew of different things, to have preferences, to have resistances, to have particular reactions or emotions or wonderful qualities or gifts and talents. So it's all not bad or good, but rather a whole slew of things that make you a person and make you who you are personally. And that brings us to this next concept of contact. So there are a couple points here. So there's so sit on that for a second. What does contact mean to you? There's potentially a connectedness. There's a meeting with. There's a maybe it's beyond two things or two people or two hands, and maybe it's actually being one with. And so contact and contactfulness can mean less separation, connectedness. I'm at a loss for more words, but when you think about when you actually let yourself make eye contact with somebody without having to do anything or say anything or be anything in particular, you might actually make more contact with someone in a way that doesn't require a lot of extras. It's nothing added and also nothing removed. So to take a broader concept like that and bring it to our bodies, like how well are you making contact with your own body from the inside? From the inside, how well are you making contact with yourself? Maybe that's noticing, maybe that's feeling and sensing. And so we can make contact with ourselves, with others, with the world around us, with all sorts of things. And we also all as humans or as people have a lot of ways that we avoid contact too. Being distracted, being defensive, things that trigger us we'll want to avoid. Feelings that are super uncomfortable, we really want to avoid that, including pain in our body. So it can be emotional feelings like, like hurt or heartbreak or anger or even hatred. Like why we tend to not want to feel those things. So we'll distance ourselves even from those sensations that are going on in ourselves. And then what about that, neck stiffness that keeps happening that you don't want to feel? Hey, Greg, what about the ankle pain that comes on only after comes on every time you've been running up to 2 miles? So there are lots of things that we tend to want to avoid. And whether you think of it as listening to your body, that one always kind of got me lost, because I guess maybe as the competitive runner, I was like, sure, I listen to my body, but I always overrode it. So maybe that's a useful phrase or term for you, listening to your body. But I kind of like this being in contact with. And I know I've done some practices like sensing practices and bring that into some of my yoga classes on Sundays at noon, where you practice sensing, scanning into your own body, again, from within, so that you can be informed by it and not just trapped in what your mind wants to think about how you feel, or what your mind wants to think about how you should feel, or what your mind wants to think about the future or how it felt in the past, or, all the stuff that our minds do. So one thing that helps us make contact, whether that's with the sensations of our body, with our emotions, our feelings, and with other people, is to slow down, is to take a breath, come up for air, like Kirsten said. Hey, Katrina. And give some space for that to happen. Now, I know many of you, myself included, are getting caught up in this pace of this particular time of year, with Christmas coming up next week and family time and, you know, running around and extra things on your schedule or extra things to do. So I invite you to take any moment, any breath, any time you think of it, to just take a breath, to slow down. It can be as simple as feeling what your feet feel like, or what your hands on the steering wheel feel like, or, you know, making contact with yourself. What does that mean to you? That can sound pretty esoteric, I'm sure, but the main thing that helps us understand something is to experience it for ourselves. So, you know, I'm curious, and feel free to type in comments if you have any thoughts here, but what are your thoughts or ideas or feelings around making contact? Maybe that's with yourself, maybe that's with the people around you. What I do know, and what I found, is that a couple things. Physically, the more I am in contact with myself and feel what I'm feeling, slow down, sense, even when I'm exercising. So even when I'm exercising, having more internal, intentional movement brings about a better quality of movement. It also brings forth an ability to feel what I'm actually feeling at that time, rather than overriding it because of emotions or other things, and adjust in real time. I'm able to adjust in real time what's needed at that time. So if there's a pain or limitation or restriction coming up, I know I can stop and I can stretch or loosen that up, or I can adjust how my posture is or my form. I can adjust the amount of weight I'm lifting or how I'm doing that movement. And so more internal awareness allows you ongoingly to shift how well you're performing certain activities, whether it's exercise and or certain functions, whether it's family functions. I know I've talked to some patients this week it's an extra stressor to go home to see family over the holidays, or they know this thing is coming up. So one thing we can be in contact with is first the discomfort or the joy, whatever it is, but discomfort's harder to be with. So maybe the discomfort, and to get more in touch with that, like actually find out what that's about with some curiosity, find out what does that actually feel like? And when you start to feel more what that feels like, inquire into it. Be curious about what that sensation actually is in your body. Help start with your body first. Then you get more in touch with that, and it tends to shift on its own. So we can be being more in contact with yourself allows you to be more in contact with other people, because now you're coming from your true personalness, your true person, rather than the framework we tend to put on or put around or be really used to. Now that might be difficult to kind of digest if you haven't heard anything like that before, but you know, take what you hear or get from this and leave the rest. Kirsten says you can run 20 miles in contact with your body, or I love this already. I love it already, Kirsten. Or you can run 20 miles completely out of contact with your body. They're very different experiences, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I've been on both sides of that. I prefer the first way. Oh, I love it. I have too. There's a difference for me in all the times that I spent shuffling through, or I guess I've been on both sides. So shuffling through and going through the motions, and the example in running again, versus feeling every powerful, open stride. Every stride has its own intrinsic power to it, and then it's actually more efficient and takes less energy to go through all of that. And the experience itself, hey Scott, the experience itself becomes just more rich. And then when an experience is more rich, I love it. It's a difference between flow and slog. Yeah, exactly. So there's flow, and the experience becomes more rich in itself, and that's when the outcome becomes a lot less important. For those of my great friends out there who maybe are still caught in the web of outcome, maybe it's running races, finishing times, or not that that's not still a kind of a draw or a thought for me. I have a lot of programming in me around like racing and finishing times, but whatever that might be for you, there's when the experiencing, your internal experience becomes more rich, then the kind of external pulls aren't as strong and aren't as necessary, because you've got this other thing. I could say the same thing about, I was telling just a patient, the last patient this afternoon, who is working his way back into running after some knee pain. And, you know, I've done some rehab, if I want to call it that, kind of building back in on the treadmill at times. And I can have a really enjoyable experience because it's a controlled environment, and take that because of working more internally on breath, on posture, on freedom of movement, of that whole, all of these pieces coming together and really integrating. And it's so powerful. And having that internal contact with oneself, with yourself, hey Dan, allows for more intrinsic strength and power and flexibility. I like to think of flexibility like pliability, not just of your body, but of your ability to kind of like martial arts, like to adjust in real time to what's necessary and needed. And these are the elements, my friends, that I highly, highly believe are the keys to overall health and well-being, injury prevention, this whole slew of it. You know, noticing injuries while they're small before they get bigger, and keeping them at bay, because you're not just forcing yourself through something that's a problem. You're looking at the problem head on and adjusting and learning and growing. You're always in process with all these things. The problem is when we ignore or avoid, lose contact, you know, distract ourselves. I've felt all these experiences before, especially distraction. I get real caught up in all the things. But the more you can be present, come back, make contact with yourself, be present with others, even be present with the very difficult experiences, pain or, you know, discomfort. That's all very important. Vibrancy, Kirsten says, what a great word. She also says, snagged a first place podium spot in a race where I had very little flow. It felt like I cheated even though I didn't, but I didn't get the full experience. So I fell short, all because of this concept. Oh, I love it. Yes. So, you know, it's kind of like when you drive somewhere and you get to your destination, you're like, whoa, I don't even remember the whole drive, because you're just not there. You're not in yourself. You're somewhere else. Like our minds are always on the move, and they'll be that way. So we have to practice. And so I think that's what you're saying. You know, even in a race, you can feel like you cheated yourself almost, because you didn't get to feel the experience of that flow, that vibrancy, that aliveness, which is a lot of why we love racing, running, or lots of other activities, right? Hiking or biking or swimming or weightlifting, or things that wake your body up and your spirit too, right? There's no savoring, she says, when you're coming from I guess that drive, where you just get to the destination without being actually in the drive or the run or the experience along the way. Keep it savory. I love that. Yes. So once again, I'm going all the way back to the beginning. So we're humans. Our bodies are relatively similar, mostly similar. There are some outliers or some differences and discrepancies, but for the most part, we're very similar, including me. My body heals very much in the same way as most other people's. Athletes, non-athletes, there are some little variations, but you know, that's great to be human and a person, a unique person that you are. That comes with the resistances and preferences and gifts and talents and you know, everything that comes with who you are and what makes you you. And that can keep us or help us be in closer contact. And once again, being in contact with yourself really helps to start with your physical body. So you can always at any time ask, what is my body feeling? Or you don't even have to ask that. You can just sense, you can feel, practice feeling your feet on the ground. Practice feeling your seat on your chair. Practice just taking one conscious breath. There are huge changes that can come from that alone. Maybe it's taking your hands and feeling the left into the right and the right into the left, giving some pressure and feeling that contact, or making eye contact with someone. There's lots of ways to make contact, but the more you can be with yourself and your experience and get to know that and understand your body, understand how to read the signs of, there's the other side of it too, not enough activity for some of us out there. I happen to be a highly motivated, overly motivated, maybe achiever type of person. So I've had to learn to slow down, hold back, be more mindful, be more present. And that for me has created a lot of balance. And I think a lot of us need that, especially in our culture that's very fast paced. Some other people might be more naturally inclined to sit around, and they need a bit more movement, and you need to, have more motivation to move. So that's a different kind of, and we'll need more movement, not less. So there's always a balancing act, but the more you can be in contact with your own self, your own nature, your own personalness, your own body, the more you'll get to know it. And then you have a much greater capacity to make healthy decisions. So why did I say, do you dare to be daringly healthy? Daringly healthy isn't necessarily do more, be better, go farther, be faster. That's not daringly healthy. Daringly healthy is being courageously up for the long haul of taking care of your body, your mind, your spirit in the most courageous ways you can, which are usually the subtlest, most unsexy ways that you can understand yourself and create habits and patterns in your life that you'll stick to because you know it's what's best for you. And that includes decisions with relationships, right? And all sorts of things. So being daringly healthy means, being courageous enough to take on the subtlest things, looking at the hard stuff, figuring out what's going on with your body, not settling for the status quo necessarily. And at least, in my case, the status quo from me and who I was around was more, better, faster, stronger, fitter. That's not necessarily the healthiest mindset or approach, because there's that. The outcome can look different if you have that mindset versus, wow, how can I be more in contact, more intrinsically powerful, more supportive, more collaborative, and raise everyone up together, And to me, that is that's more the essence of what I'm trying to get at and trying to help people with and what I'm trying to live. And it's not necessarily the easy road, but I think it's worth it. To value your health and wellness in all areas of life. I dare you to get healthier in all areas of life and to find out what that means for you. What does it mean to be healthy in all areas of your life for you? It might not look the same way as everybody else. It probably won't. It could look similar in some ways. So your humanness is important and wonderful and wondrous. Your personalness, your own person, is equally as wondrous and can help us, or it can, kind of get in our way a little bit. Making contact with yourself first is the way to having more connectedness with others in your life. And gosh, isn't that what we all want? At some deep level, whether you admit it to yourself or not, we all want to feel connected to those around us. And we all want to feel like people get us and understand us and see us as we are. So if you start to see you first, I guarantee you're going to start to see the essence of others as well. And there's a wonderful reciprocation that can happen there also. So be in contact with all that's going on right now, including inside you, most importantly inside you, and allow that to transform your health and your life probably little by little in subtle ways, and consider whether you are up for becoming daringly healthy. And let me know if you have any questions or comments about tonight. So I think that's what I got tonight for as far as contact and, our personalness. So let me know if you have any further comments or questions. I'm Dr. Laura Johnson from Yellow Brick Physical Therapy in Boulder, Colorado. I love hearing what you have to say, what your thoughts are. I love going to the depths of thoughts and information. And great. Thanks, Kirsten, so much for joining. You're awesome. That's a great topic. Yeah, tune in on Monday nights, including next Monday. It'll be Christmas Eve. Ooh, so there might be a good some good analogy maybe in there for Christmas Eve. And let me know if you have any comments or questions on the way. I'm Dr. Laura Johnson. Thanks so much for watching SuperSoul Boulder 30th episode. Crazy. Tune in next Monday night and hope to see a bunch of you next time. Once again, if you miss a show or you want to check back through older ones, you just scroll back through my home feed and, let me know if you can still comment, and I still answer all those myself. So please do. Good night. Take care. Be daringly healthy. Take it easy.